Every agent, whether they're doing 100 million, I say the same thing. I don't have enough time. I'm calling a little bit of BS on that.
Welcome back to the show. I am Remington Ramsey, and this is Ben Lalez or Lalez. No one's really sure, but one thing is for sure, this is going to be a great show. Ben, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Remington. Thanks for having me.
Ben is coming from West Side Chicago, which is not Western suburbs. It's west of the highway, as everyone knows who knows Chicago. What do you love about selling real estate or living in Chicago?
My favorite thing about selling real estate in Chicago is people's reactions when they move from other parts of the country. They're like, I can get what when I move to Chicago? $1 million goes a really long way. And we're just like that happy medium between New York and LA, big city, but it's still relatively affordable. It's just an extremely livable, big metropolitan city.
Yeah, because I think you're thinking comparatively to people who are coming from other big cities. Because I'll tell you, if someone comes from Northern Indiana, they're like, what?
Yeah, no, but we're kind of still compared to, the Bostons, the San Franciscos, the New Yorks, the LAs. Yeah. And I love that we get to be that happy medium for a lot of people who, are priced out of some big places, and you get to come to a place that still has all of that culture, but at a more, or a less depressing price.
Well, let me tell you why you should know the name Ben Lalez. He is a boy prodigy, 35 years old, went from $20 million to $200 million in a matter of 4 years, which is just monster numbers, bananas. And a lot of it you attribute to video and social media for your growth, which is fun. We've had a couple of people on the podcast like that. Ken Pozak, you know the name? Down in the Orlando market. He's got a similar story. What I love about Ben, though, is that he thinks about things. He thinks about numbers in a very easy to digest way to help you understand if you should be doing something or if you should be doing something else. So we're going to dig into outsourcing and your growth. But let's start from the beginning. You came, your father actually owned a hardware store. So, a little bit, kind of a real estate background, owning a hardware store. Tell me how you go from that to where you are now.
Yeah, the story goes, my dad was a tool and die maker. He literally would thread pipes at this hardware store. And, the guy wanted to retire, and he bought the hardware store from him in a really unforgiving part of Chicago called Humboldt Park at the time.
Yeah.
And so he bought the store from this guy, and I literally grew up in a hardware store. If you need me to rekey something or cut a key for you, I got you. But I was exposed to real estate really, really early. So, I was hunting down plumbing parts and electrical parts for, these contractors on the west side of Chicago. And what my dad ended up doing was just, buying up the store next door, expanding, buying up the store next door, expanding. And then eventually he realized that, on the fourth one, if he bought it and rented it out to someone, he was making just as much money. So he eventually accumulated quite a portfolio over the years.
With less work is his thought, is less work.
Yeah. He's like, I don't have to put in any sweat really once it's rented, and he starts getting this paycheck. So his story evolved into one of just pure real estate. He was, he has, 40 units, which is, in our world, Remington, relatively modest, for some big players that we come into contact with. But for an immigrant from Iran,
no doubt,
pretty crazy.
I don't think it's modest. I think it's modest depending on what room you're in. But if you're talking about all of real estate, what drives me nuts about a lot of realtors, even top realtors like yourself, just struggle to get into the ownership game, struggle to, own their own real estate. Some not even owning their own home, which is fine if that's a choice that you make. But if you have all this knowledge, not using it, and we say that we want to grow our business and grow our minds, but yet we don't take that for whatever reason, don't take that first step. Why do you think that is?
A lot of people that I come into contact with, and I say the same thing to the agents who are on my team, it's just that I think it's plain old fear, because they don't have anyone ahead of them to look to who have actually done it. I was blessed that my dad had, I don't know where he got it from, but he had the guts to go out there and do it himself. And I got to model after him. Right. Not everyone has that luxury.
Right? Yeah, that's true. Now, if you didn't have that though, how would you make? Because what's funny about your story, the first stat that I read was 20 million to 200 million. But honestly, a lot of realtors listening to this, or anyone in business, be like, 20 million sounded pretty good about right now. If I could just get to 20 million. Yeah. So how did that happen?
Yeah. So I think it's a simple story. And this is actually the first time I made this connection to my dad. Is how he bought a property and then he's like, oh, I could just rent it out and make some money. Yep. So for me, now I'm putting this together now. It's like I had some extra opportunity, right? I wasn't willing to do the $1,500 rental. I wasn't willing to do the $100,000 condo anymore. So what do? You bring on someone else. And yeah, I may not make the full amount on that $100,000 property, but I was cool with it. So I brought on a buyer's agent and they would handle all of the stuff that I wasn't willing to. And then I wasn't willing to do 250,000, but I still wanted to make sure that I was squeezing as much out of the opportunity that I had. So you bring on a second person and a third and a 10th and now we're at 20 agents. And what I think is the big unlock for people who think they want to start a team is you can't unless you start with opportunity. Mm-hmm. And with opportunity, and money, I was able to round out my value proposition and then attract and retain really high quality talent. But to answer your question, like everyone asks, how? Opportunity. I was able to make other people money. And believe it or not, that is something attractive to others.
People like that, huh?
Yeah, can you believe that?
Well, you've got a great perspective on outsourcing and what the things that you should outsource and why you should outsource them. And you were talking about the science and the math behind it, understanding what your number is, what your hour is. I know you've spoken on stage about this. Dig in. Let's unpack that. What does that actually mean to you? How do I figure that out? What I'm worth per hour?
Remington, can we play a little game, you and I?
Absolutely.
All right. I need you to pretend that you're a real estate agent.
Okay.
Let's do $10 million a year.
Okay.
What's your most favorite thing? And you can pretend, what's your most favorite thing to do in the world on a Saturday when you're relaxing?
Just hanging out on the water, drifting on a boat.
Yeah. Like just enjoying your life.
Yep.
Let's rewind just a little bit. You're that real estate agent doing $10 million a year.
Okay.
What's the one resource you have none of, you claim?
I don't have enough of this thing, or I have none of?
You don't have enough of this thing.
Time.
So you are like everyone I've ever spoken to, every agent, whether they're doing $1 million or 100 million. I say the same thing. I don't have enough time.
Right.
I'm calling a little bit of BS on that. And I'm going to kind of show you why. So, okay, you're out on that boat.
Yep.
And the phone rings and it's an opportunity of some kind.
All right.
I don't know what it is for this fictitious $10 million producer, but there is an opportunity where you're turning the boat around, you're kicking your friends off the boat, and you're like, I got to get to work. So let's play a little game.
Okay.
We're going to assume at $10 million, is it a $300,000 opportunity? Are you turning the boat around?
Probably not. That's probably an average. I mean, if that's an average home, now it depends on who. I mean, you're asking me, and I'm kind of a hard sell because if I'm on my boat, it's got to be a pretty big number for me to get off.
And it should be a hard sell.
Yeah. So no, not 300.
$500,000 opportunity?
Probably not.
$750,000 opportunity?
Maybe. I'm trying to put my mind in the body of some of the realtors I've talked to. I mean, for me personally, it'd have to be north of $1 million, I think.
Let's call it $1 million. So every other agent in the city, I don't care how good you are, right? But that client or that opportunity doesn't have, 100% guarantee that you're actually going to transact.
True,
Good. What's the probability that you are actually going to close with this person?
Oh man, you're gonna have to help me out with that one. I mean, on average, for a luxury listing, that would be a luxury listing here in Indy. Like, how many different people do they ask to go listing appointments with? Like
Let's say they're
25%, 50%.
let's say you're really, really good. Let's say you have I would put it honestly at a 70% chance if
Okay.
you're really, really good.
All right.
Okay. Let's assume you win it. How many hours are you actually going to spend from let's say you get a signed listing agreement right there.
Yeah.
You turn the boat around, you go to the listing appointment, you win it. From that point until the check clears, how many hours you got to put in? If everything goes perfectly.
What's the answer to this? I don't know.
I think if everything goes perfect, you're still putting in about 20 hours.
20 hours? Okay. And that's probably on the low end.
Yeah. So we're assuming things go right.
Right. And that you have the perfect team and nobody does anything wrong. And yeah. Okay. 20 hours.
20 hours of your time. In Indy, what's the is it 2.5%, give or take?
Yeah. Between 2.5, 3.
Yeah. So let's say after splits, et cetera, you got to pay out some people. Let's say let's just call it $20,000 in take home pay. Surprise, surprise. The numbers came out nice and neat. 20 hours. Okay.
Yep.
$1,000 an hour. Right.
Okay.
But wait, we said that there's only a 70% chance that you would have access to these funds. So we're just going to, so voila, that person is deriving a $700 an hour price tag, on that of time out on the water. But people, don't think of it that way.
So what is your argument on that number? That it was good that I got off the boat, or I should have stayed on the boat?
So that's the thing, is I don't get to make that characterization, right? I don't get to choose for anybody. But I think everyone needs to know what an hour of their time is actually worth in given circumstances. Right now, I'm at work. So are you in some capacity? Yep. It's going to be, or I have to work. I'm not relaxing. I want to work. Right. But, my number is, I need to see a clear path to $1,500 an hour if I'm hanging around with my kids.
Yeah.
But my argument is this: if you are in the middle of some really high quality work, you're following up with past clients, you're trying to drive new business, into your atmosphere. If the phone rings, you need to know what is going to get you out of the chair.
Yeah. Before going into that call.
Also, there are a whole variety of things. And I think this is the clincher. If anyone's actually listening to this, Remington, I know you have droves of fans.
Yeah.
But I want people to recognize that this needs to start extending outside of your professional career.
Sure.
There are hours and hours of things that need to get done that are limiting you from acquiring that $700 an hour, or that $500 an hour, or that $200 an hour. The agent. So I do this exercise with every agent.
You're talking about personal things like that, like things in your personal life that you should be outsourcing.
So I've done this exercise with every single one of the people on my team. Okay. And people have $1 per hour of anywhere between, honestly, $50 an hour is the very, very minimum to, killers on the team who are, at $500 an hour. So I'll give you a perfect example. Is one of these guys on my team, his name is Joey. I want him to take a client out, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I am mowing my lawn on a Saturday at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
For me, that's a really clear example of, hire a TaskRabbit for $40 an hour. That's $80. And you don't believe that you can go make more money than that. What are you thinking? Yeah. You're doing grocery shopping, and, Remington, you and I were talking about this, is like Instacart. Yeah. It upcharges you about $15, but in my opinion, that takes about, 2 hours of my day. If I don't believe myself enough that
you personally just made $3,000 back. Well, $2,975 back on that decision to not go grocery shopping.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And kind of goes back to the first question I asked you is, what don't you have enough of?
Time, yeah.
But I really, really believe that is, again, BS, unless you are really at the point where you are outsourcing everything, which kind of goes into, can I kind of share the stuff that I outsource?
Well, before you share the things that you outsource, because that's on the other end of the perspective, um, I'm just curious, is there a time in which you cannot do these things? Because, like, as a realtor is a great example, but any business owner who's starting a business, there's a lot of time, money, and effort that goes into building of that business that before you realize the return and or profit. So if I'm mowing my yard because I literally don't have a next paycheck coming in before the next closing, like, how realistic is it? Or are you only talking to the people who have made it to where, okay, now it's dumb that you're not outsourcing it? Or can everyone apply this?
I think everybody can apply it to some degree. Listen, you spend money that you don't have, of course, but this is what I'm telling you. If I'm sitting here and I really believe I'm doing the right things, and somebody needs a set of keys from me, or, if you're even working rentals and I got to drive across town, I need to break my focus, get up out of my chair and drive these keys to someone. Well, take out your Uber Messenger for $7. We'll drive those keys to that person for you.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a person in real estate who shouldn't be outsourced, who shouldn't be spending that $7, even if your dollar per hour is 20. If you don't think you can make $20 with that 1 hour of your time, you're probably not in the right business. Honestly, you need to be willing to make these decisions, do these calculations and be like, oh, I'm actually going to make $13 if I sit down and continue working.
So give us the things that you outsource, maybe some things I haven't even thought of.
So I want to start with the basics. Uber, it's on your phone. You don't have to do anything. Did you know that exists on your phone?
Uber Messenger? We had Eric Forney on a couple of months ago, and he was talking about using Uber. He didn't say the word Uber Messenger, but he used it for earnest money checks and just told the driver to do that. But that must have been before Messenger came around.
Yeah. So there's an actual function for package delivery. So I'll give you a perfect example.
So all Uber has, if I pull up Uber, it already has this function.
It could be cities.
I need to download it.
It should be in there. It's called package.
No way.
Where? So that's one, and you don't have to do anything. Instacart is another. You shouldn't be doing your grocery shopping, in my opinion. So, okay, let's get all of the home items out of the way.
Sure.
There is a service called Happiness. I actually looked before this call. Happiness. You can send your laundry out. I was surprised. It's something that I use, but it's national. Happy Nest.
Nest. Okay.
So you can send out your laundry and your dry cleaning. Yes, it's more expensive, but it's another one of those things.
Right. It's not how much something costs me, it's how much it saves me or makes me.
Yeah, exactly right. And then, let's stay inside the house because that's where a lot of the stuff is. I hire someone, and people are going to roll their eyes. I hire someone to come in on Mondays, and they cook all of my family's meals for the entire week.
Yep.
It's $53 an hour, and they'll come. Everything is packaged up. So not only do I believe I'm saving at the very, very least an hour a day. That's what I believe.
Sure.
But you want to talk about the friction I'm saving with my wife?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, we have someone obviously cleaning our home, but it's not I don't believe it's because we're lazy. I think they're a really, it's a business decision.
Yeah.
Want to be able to, I prefer working. I prefer doing this with you, Remington, as opposed to,
your laundry.
Yeah. Cleaning my house.
Yeah.
So I have to create enough time where I can do this 1 hour podcast with you, because if I don't have these blocks of time open, I can't squeeze in an hour. If I'm out running around with clients or recruiting agents or whatever the case may be, this time doesn't exist on my calendar for the stuff that I really value.
Now, the things that you value, I want to dig in on that. You said you have a family, kids. Do you ever find that this way of thinking, because I mean, you're in this way of thinking. I mean, a lot of high-end successful business owners think this way, but you're even going so far as to going on a speaking circuit, talking about this. You've created a program for this. You do it with your team. So you're in it a lot. Do you ever find that it kind of, I don't know, pollutes you cut out. What was it?
Deepens my relationships.
Yeah. So like if you've got, especially in your own family, do you ever find yourself thinking, oh, wow, this isn't worth my time or your time? This video game is not serving us. But in reality it is, but you're just in that business mindset. You can't turn that business mind off. What, do you ever do that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's become, the problem is it's become so valuable outside of my professional life that I think people should be kind of taking stock of all of the things in their life. And you can, kind of extrapolate this to, the people who are providing energy, and people who are serving you as opposed to draining you. It's the same thing. The opportunities that are most giving, right? Highest dollar per hour, I want to make space for, and I want to shed everything that is not providing that value to me. So on the one hand, yeah, I hate that my brain thinks of it like this, but it helps protect those things that are important to me, because the dollar per hour that I have on that time with my family, is, I set it a lot higher.
Yeah.
Right. But we're all lying to ourselves if we think that that time with your family is priceless. No, like, sorry, if there's a path to something crazy, like my wife will understand, my kids will understand, I hope one day, that I need to go and do it.
Well, ultimately that thing will lead to more of the priceless time, right? So like it's not that you're trading this to work harder. It's that because you are taking this opportunity, it will allow for even more time to buy back from the things that you actually enjoy while you're working so hard in the first place.
And we kind of touched on this, and I don't know if this is even something that the listeners can digest, kind of bouncing around a little bit here, but I talked about like the amount of money I would spend in order to save. The example I give is a daily recurring 3-minute task. I would spend a really weird amount of money to eliminate that from my time. Because if I have to have a one-time outlay of something like $10,000 to save 15 minutes a week, you multiply that times 52 times 3 years, like these little things add up. And if you're able to have that mindset of like, yeah, cool, I'll eliminate 3 minutes, I'll eliminate 10 minutes, I'll eliminate 12 minutes, I'll eliminate laundry, which I hate, but it's an hour. Like I'm saving, it's going to sound crazy, but I'm saving days a year.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what I run into. This is where I hit a snag in this line of thinking. It doesn't come up often. This isn't like a daily or weekly occurrence, but I'll give you the example of paint. Like for serving others and loving on others, especially like people in my family, like my sister, cousins, they're not all business owners. They don't think like me. They may be in a different line of work altogether. Teachers, stay-at-home parents. And I would never paint my house. I will pay 100 out of 100 times for someone to paint my house. I'm not good at it. I don't enjoy it. I'd rather be doing literally anything else. But my sister wants help painting her house. And for the longest time, I feel like I want to get your take on this. I feel like I had a bad attitude around it because I just got in this business owner mode. This is not worth my time. But I came full circle on this, and I realized that it is not painting my sister's house. It is spending time with my sister, helping her do a task that she cannot afford to pay someone else to do. So therefore, the serving and loving on others trumped all of my business knowledge about how much time I should spend doing this thing. What's your take on, serving others, doing things that you would rather pay to do?
I think you hit on it perfectly. You also have a luxury that you don't realize. that you even have the ability, you have the hours to spend on whatever the hell you want to, excuse my language, whatever you want to spend that time on. So just the ability, because you've already shaped your life, to have the freedom to go and do something that you want to do, like help your sister.
Yeah.
These things work in tandem with one another.
Sure.
Right. So I think it's the same. I think it's the same thing, honest to God. It's how I've shaped my entire life and my entire thinking. And I have the same exact thing. Like, I outsource everything. I have an assistant. He handles everything. But you know what he doesn't do? He doesn't schedule like dinners with my friends, right? Because there's some things that are sacred to you, right?
Yeah.
You have to do them yourself to find meaning for yourself.
Yeah.
And
it's like when someone says, "Hey, can we have a call?" and you send them their Calendly link. There's some people you just don't send the Calendly link to.
Dude, I have people who are like, F you.
Yeah.
You again. And I'm going to, we joke, but like, man, you want to talk about something that I hate? If I spend another minute saying, hey, are you free at 1:30 on Friday? Oh, no, yeah. I'm free 30 on Monday, the 14th.
Yeah.
I just can't do it anymore. And can I tell you a secret?
Yeah. I love it.
Keep a second Calendly for social events.
Okay.
So when I'm looking to get, couples dinner, right? You have to coordinate 4 calendars. It's miserable. I literally have an event on my Calendly that says 2-hour dinner with Ben and Megan. That's my wife. Like, here it is. Go talk. I don't want to talk. Go talk to your significant other. And they hate
people
me.
Do it. They sign up on it.
But it's never going to get done. I will never get it done. It'll take a month before we actually get something on the calendar. So that's just me. I wish it wasn't, Remington, but that's just me.
I mean, what's funny is like everything is going to shared digital things. So like calendars are being shared. Your photos, you can even create shared albums so that you're not just sending them back and forth. They actually go to the cloud and you can see it together, just like a drive. So you'd think at some point it'd be socially acceptable to have a button you can push to see when I can hang out with Ben and his wife. But there is just something about it right now that we're just not there yet.
Oh, there is. And so I like spend my life trying to save these minutes. When I find something that is so infuriating, I'm like, there has to be a solution. And most often there is. So like on your phone right now, do you have an iPhone?
Yeah. So
you have a function in your apps right now called polls. So if you're in a group chat with someone, have you ever used this?
Oh yeah, we do it all. I'm in a fantasy football league. We use polls on the reg.
Exactly. But like, when do you want to get dinner? Well, here, I will.
It kind of makes it fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Why are polls acceptable while Calendly is not? I don't know. But
all right. I was just reading a book, and I think we already talked about this on the podcast, but I can't get certain things out of my head when I read certain authors like Malcolm Gladwell. Have you ever read Malcolm Gladwell? There's a chapter on plagiarism, and I just can't get over the fact that people can duplicate music and say it's mine and then get, fined for it if it's someone else's music. But yet we can draw the same drawing or paint the same painting and tell them, hey, this is an original Ramsey. It's someone else's original work, but then you can pay it and you won't get fined anything. Like societal, cultural decisions that are made. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where if it's actually some of these things that we're talking about, if it's actually valuable, society will catch up. And maybe you and I are some of these things, and we may have to shed them because people will continue to frown upon them. But kind of like bringing it back to like the agent, there right now, everyone who's listening can buy back an hour of their time.
Sure.
And I would be floored if it cost more than, I'll be generous, more than $100.
Yeah. When you do this with your team, what's the first, if someone is just not outsourcing anything, this is the first time they've heard of it, they're trying to apply what's the first step to get into moving to an outsourced business?
I think you cannot replace you have to hustle, frankly, and you have to be able to figure out how much your time is worth, right? At the very beginning of your career, your time may not be worth anything. You need to go out and get that experience. You need to be hustling, saying yes to a ton of opportunity. But until you have like a good sense of how much you have enough business, you're closing enough deals, even if they're rentals, you have to have a clear sense of how much money you can make with 1 hour. And honestly, if you're hustling $1,000 rentals in Chicago, so be it. And your time may be worth $20 or even $15. And that's fine. I'm not poo-pooing on any of that. But you shouldn't be doing tasks that you can outsource for $5 in my opinion.
So you pick one thing, you pick the first thing, you look at your day, your time blocking, and then you look at it and be like, okay, this is something that's getting in my way on a regular basis.
We just talked about it. Like, how much time are you spending scheduling stuff? Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's a free version, just forever, isn't there?
Yeah.
So, okay, beautiful. That is one free tool to buy back. Okay, let's say it's 30 seconds, but this is my whole entire thesis is 30 seconds a day on the year. It's actually meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
What are those things that you can do and frankly automate in some regard to make money?
It's funny as we're talking about this and we're assuming that somebody who is going to be outsourcing this is not scrolling on Facebook and Instagram for the other hours that they're actually in the business. And I think a lot of us just struggle with actually producing a day's worth of work that you can be proud of because of all the distractions in this world. So maybe starting there and buying back some of your time from all the stuff that you shouldn't be doing is a great, free, easy way to do it.
So I'm with you, and taking inventory of how you spend your day is definitely a start. And I have that problem. I think everyone's lying. If you don't catch yourself scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, I think you're lying, or scrolling anything else. I have a limit on Instagram of 15 minutes a day. Your phone can set it.
Which is interesting coming from the video guy, because this is how you're building your business. So one could make the argument that you should spend more time on it if this was building your business.
Yeah, I agree with you. At this point, I have my marketing guy, right? When you want to talk about like really outsourcing, right? That's ultimately what all businesses are, is outsourcing and, making the best use of your time. But I pay someone to do that for me and making sure that there are trends.
Staying with the theme. I love it, man.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring everything back to it. And honestly, this is how businesses are run. And maybe that's the point, Remington, is, I think what you're kind of touching on is having a shift in mindset. And the mindset is we're all entrepreneurs, we're all business owners, agents are, but nobody runs their life like a business, or most agents, in my experience, don't have that approach from a mindset perspective of approaching their life and their real estate career as a business first, which it is.
Ben, this has been eye-opening. Thank you for giving us a glimpse into the way you think and the way you outsource. On another podcast in the future, I'd love to dig into video and what it's done for your life. I love that you're sharing all this, and I love the perspective that realtors and business owners bring on the show, knowing that you can give away trade secrets to people in your market and they're still not going to do it. So I challenge you. Say it again.
Not going to do it.
They're not going to do it. I challenge the listener. Don't be the guy that doesn't do it. Do it. Try it. See what happens. Maybe you'll go from that 0 to 20 and then 20 to 200. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Really enjoyed it.
I can see us doing a big national event soon in the future. I could see Chicago being the place where we do that. Hopefully we see you there. If we are not in your market, you can bring us to your market. realproducersmag.com. We'll see you next time.